It's decided, Dad announced. Your sister gets your luxury SUV. She has kids. Everyone nodded in agreement. I pulled out the folder. Funny you should mention kids. Here's what she did with his last car. Uncle Ron gasped when. My name is Simon. I'm 36. I run a mid-sized travel company that builds custom tours for families and small teams. I live out of a backpack half the year, answer emails at airports, and can pack a carry-on in 8 minutes flat. In my family, I'm the organized one, which is code for the person who pays, fixes, drives, and apologizes. I'm the oldest. My sister, Tessa, is 32 and has 2 kids. Our parents live 20 minutes away. I do Sunday lunches because that's what we've always done. I bring dessert. I bring coffee. I bring the car seats because somehow I always end up driving someone home. That Sunday, I brought a folder too. It was a thin, ugly, gray folder that didn't match the plates or the fake flowers on Mom's table runner. I put it on the chair beside me and tried not to look at it. I had told myself I wouldn't need it. I had told myself we'd talk like adults. We didn't. Dad waited until the roast chicken hit the table and everyone's mouths were full. Then he tapped his glass with a fork like he was the manager of a hotel conference room. All right, he said. It's decided. He didn't look at me. He looked at Mom, then at Tessa, then at Uncle Ron, who was already half smiling like he'd heard the punchline backstage. Dad cleared his throat. Your sister gets your SUV, Simon. She has kids. She needs the space. The room didn't go silent. It went busy. Nods. Small noises. Mom said, of course, like we were discussing weather. Tessa's husband Dan muttered, makes sense, already scrolling on his phone. Tessa exhaled like a weight had lifted off her shoulders she never planned to carry anyway. I blinked once. Twice. My SUV, I said, just to make sure I wasn't inventing words. The one registered to my company. The one I used to shuttle clients. Dad huffed. Company, schmompany. It sits in your driveway. Your nephew's stroller doesn't fit in our hatchback. Use your sedan for work. Mom added, be reasonable, Simon. You're single. You don't need luxury. Tessa shrugged. You can afford another one. Don't be dramatic. Something in my chest tightened, but my voice came out even. You decided this. Without me. Dad's jaw shifted. Don't start. Family looks out for family. Right, I said. Family looks out for family. I reached for the gray folder. Funny you should mention kids, I said, sliding it onto the table. Because here's what Tessa did with the last car someone let her borrow. Dan stopped scrolling. Mom's fork paused in midair. Tessa's smile tried to stay on her face and failed. I flipped the folder open. Printed emails. Insurance forms. The police report. Photos. Crumpled hood. Bent Street sign. The white dust of exploded airbags. Uncle Ron leaned in without asking. He actually gasped when he saw the first picture. Oh wow. Tessa's voice went small. Simon. I didn't say anything else. Not yet. I let the pages sit there in the middle of the table, next to the gravy boat, next to the family story they preferred. I kept breathing. In. Out. I remembered what my therapist said, state facts, not feelings, when they try to rewrite history. I remembered every time I'd swallowed the same kind of sentence. It's decided. I looked at my sister. At my parents. At the hole my silence used to fill. And for the first time in a long time, I didn't rush to fill it. My job looked shiny from the outside. Photos from Santorini, a tag in a client's honeymoon post, the odd flex of a hotel upgrade. The truth is spreadsheets and margins and waking up at 3 a.m. to reroute a family because their toddler spiked a fever before a flight to Lisbon. I built the company from a desk in a rental with a squeaky chair and a neighbor who practiced drums at midnight. I did calls on lunch breaks from my old job, then quit and took 2 part-time gigs to keep the lights on. I learned to sell, to negotiate, to apologize with my whole spine. While I was doing that, my family learned one thing about me. I would say yes. Simon, can you float us until Friday? Dad would text. Simon, daycare just raised rates. Can you help? From Tessa. Simon, your grandmother's hearing aids. Mom would add, like a footnote. I said yes because I remembered when there was nothing to say yes with. Because I thought that's what the oldest does. Because I was proud I could. Small things turned into big things. Gas money became a car payment. The car payment became me co-signing on Tessa's Compact when she was between jobs. The Compact became the SUV because then I was the one between cars after an airport shuttle dented my old one and the insurance dragged their feet. I told myself the truck would be practical for luggage. It was. It also became the family moving van, the Saturday Costco train, the emergency late-night ride for Dan when he drank too much with the guys. Family looks out for family, Dad would say, like a stamp on every invoice I never sent. The worst part? I kept track. I made a quiet spreadsheet I never showed anyone. Dates, amounts, reasons. I wasn't tallying to collect. I was trying to convince myself I wasn't crazy, that the slow bleed I felt wasn't real. Every ask came with a mood. If I hesitated, Tessa tilted her head. Wow, you've changed. Mom sighed. We're not asking for a yacht. Dad's voice got hard. After all we did for you. When I got the company's first big corporate client, a software team that needed a retreat in Mallorca, my parents threw a celebration dinner. The dessert came with a, by the way, your sister's car is on its last legs, Mom said, slicing cake. Maybe the right thing is to upgrade. For the kids. Simon knows what to do, Dad said. He's successful. Tessa laughed. You know I'd do the same for you, she said, like she was telling a joke with a happy ending. I bought the SUV. Not for Tessa. For my work. I liked the safety, the back row for luggage, the way it swallowed the crappy roads near the airport hotels. I let Tessa use it sometimes because there were car seats, because sometimes is a word that erodes when you don't defend it. Then came the thing I put in the gray folder. A call at midnight. Tessa crying. It's not that bad, she said. It looks worse than it is. A street name I recognized. Sirens in the background. Dan yelling at someone. He shouldn't have parked there, he kept repeating, as if that made a bent stop sign stand up straight. I drove over in my dented sedan. The SUV wasn't ours. It was Dan's friend's car, a loaner. Tessa had clipped a curb, jumped it, and kissed a pole. Airbags out. Smoke. Kids safe at home. Thank God. But the excuse the next day was that the steering fell off. The police were polite. They were also clear. She'd been drinking. The friend's insurance called me because guess who was still the emergency contact on everything? Your family, they said. We figured you'd want to help smooth this. The friend, later, it's fine. We're cool. With that edge that means it's not fine and you're not cool. Tessa swore she'd pay the deductible. We'll handle it, Dan promised. I watched the promise float away like a balloon someone let go of on purpose. I checked my spreadsheet and added a new line. I didn't tell my parents about the drinking. I told myself I was protecting her. I told myself it wasn't my job to start a house fire. Little things kept burning anyway. A missing $600 from Mom's vacation fund. Somehow my name ended up on the vendor list for the school fundraiser, and then the donation was my card on file. Dan borrowed my business credit card to hold a hotel, then forgot to cancel. It sat there like a small parasite until my accountant flagged it. Then came the part where I was not invited to my own erasure. I found out from a cousin's Instagram that there was a family planning chat for big decisions. There was a screenshot of a group video call with everyone's face in neat boxes, but mine. The caption, teamwork makes the dream work. The next morning, Mom called like nothing was off. Sunday lunch, same time, she said. Oh, and Tessa's stroller situation is a nightmare. We'll talk then. I put the folder together that afternoon. Not because I wanted to explode, because I was tired of being the only person who remembered. I printed the police report. I printed the email chain with Dan's friend where I apologized for something I didn't do. I printed my own spreadsheet. I didn't plan a speech. I planned to stop pretending. One more thing happened before Sunday. My operations manager, Leah, pulled me aside after a staff meeting. You've been taking calls in the hall, she said gently. You disappear. You come back angry or empty. We cover for you. That's not in our job description. I opened my mouth. Closed it. Simon, she said. We like you. We like this company. Please stop bleeding for people who cut you. I went home and looked at the folder again. It looked back. Back at the table, the photos sat between the gravy and the bread basket like a guest with bad manners. No one touched a roll. Dad pointed at the report. What is this? I kept my voice flat. Tessa crashed a friend's car after drinking. Last fall. She told me to keep it quiet. Mom gasped like I'd sworn in church. Don't say drinking like she was. The breathalyzer number is on page 2, I said. Tessa's cheeks flushed. It was my birthday dinner. I was under the limit when I left. The curb was weird. Dan added, the alignment was trash, as if he'd inspected it. Uncle Ron made a low whistle. Those airbag photos, yikes. Dad snapped, Ron. Then he turned on me. What's your point, Simon? To humiliate your sister? We're talking about the SUV. Exactly, I said. The SUV that's owned by my company. The SUV that's insured commercially. The SUV you just allocated like you allocate the last piece of pie. Mom leaned forward, hands folded like a talk show host. We're not monsters. We're being practical. Kids. Strollers. Life. Tessa rolled her eyes. This is why you're single. You care more about paperwork than people. I let that one pass. I slid out the second stack, my spreadsheet. I'd highlighted 3 years. Transfers. Venmo notes. Groceries. Urgent. For the kids. Receipts for soccer fees. An invoice I paid for a plumber who didn't take cards. The amount at the bottom looked like a used car. Dad scoffed. What is this, an audit? Families don't send invoices. Families also don't take what isn't offered, I said. But you do. Then you call it generosity on my part, so you can call it entitlement if I stop. Mom's voice went syrupy. Simon, sweetheart, we're all tired. You're stressed. You're making money. You can handle it. Tessa and Dan are starting out. We already did that for you. You didn't, I said quietly. You lent me $400 11 years ago, and I paid you back in 2 weeks. Dad's face tightened. Watch your tone. Tessa slammed her palm on the table. This is insane. We came to talk like grown-ups. You brought props. I looked at her. You brought a decision. Dan shifted. Look, man, she needs a bigger car. The kids. I cut him off with the thing I had saved for last. The insurance letter with my business name on it. The part about non-permitted drivers and policy voids. If Tessa drives the company SUV and hurts someone, I said, the claim goes through my commercial policy. If she's over the limit again, the company eats it. My employees eat it. My clients eat it. I'm not feeding anyone that. The room finally went quiet. Not busy. Quiet. Dad tried one more angle. What kind of brother are you? I looked straight at him. The kind who's done being a wallet. Mom's eyes flashed. After everything we invested in you. In me? I said. You invested in my sister's birthday parties and Dan's bar tabs, and the new patio furniture you put on hold on my card. I invested in flights and refunds and emergency hotels for strangers who become repeat clients and keep my team paid. Those are different investments. Tessa swallowed. So it's a no. It's a no, I said. You don't get my SUV. You don't get my yes by ambush. You don't get my silence anymore. Uncle Ron said, soft, like he couldn't help himself. Good for you, kid. Dad stood up so fast his chair squealed. If you walk out of here with that attitude, don't come crawling back when you need us. I picked up the gray folder. I haven't needed you since I learned to make instant noodles. Tessa's voice cracked. You're punishing me for one mistake. I paused at the doorway. It's not one. It's the pattern where I pay and you pretend it's kindness. This time I brought pictures. I sat in my SUV in their driveway for a long time. The engine off. The kind of quiet where you hear your own pulse. My hands were shaking. Not from fear. From all the times I hadn't said what I just said. Leah texted, how did it go? I typed. I didn't hand them the keys. She sent a clapping emoji. Then, your 10 a.m. tomorrow is the school travel council. You okay to present? I stared at the dashboard. I felt weirdly light. Yeah, I wrote. I can do that. The fallout started before I reached the end of the street. Family group chat, the one I was still in, apparently. Mom, your behavior today was cruel. Dad, you embarrassed your sister. Tessa, I can't believe you would bring that up in front of Uncle Ron. Dan, bro, not cool. I didn't answer. I archived the thread. Then a text from an unknown number. Hey Simon, it's Laura. We met at Tessa's last Christmas. I'm Ron's daughter. Just wanted to say proud of you. Somebody had to say it. I didn't know what to do with that, so I put my phone face down and drove to the car wash like it was a ritual. I vacuumed sand out of the mats that had been there since a client beach day. I wiped sticky fingerprints from the rear window that were not from any child I knew. I set the seat positions back to mine. At home, I opened my laptop and did something petty that felt like surgery. I removed Dad, Mom, Tessa, and Dan from the trusted contacts on my roadside assistance. I changed the gate code at my place. I told insurance to update the list of permitted drivers to 1. I texted Leah and asked her to get company decals on the SUV this week. Make it obviously not a family car. Make it mine, but not just mine, ours. The team's. Mom called. I let it go to voicemail. Her message was a masterclass. She cycled through tones. Hurt. Concern. Logistics. The kids will suffer, she concluded. And when they ask why Uncle Simon doesn't love them, I hope you have an answer. I walked around my apartment and touched objects like they were new. The kettle I bought secondhand. The couch that cradled me when I came home wrecked from a client who screamed at me over a seat map. The framed photo of my team at our first real office party. We looked tired and proud and a little stunned. The next morning, I presented to the school council without thinking about the SUV. I talked about safe itineraries and insurance and what you do when a 12-year-old swallows a marble in Madrid. People laughed. People nodded. I remembered why I built this thing. So families see the world without falling apart at the airport. After the meeting, a mom stopped me. "We've heard great things about you," she said. "From Leah. She said you show up." She handed me a deposit check right there in the cafeteria smell. My hands were steady when I took it. The week after, Dan texted, then called, then texted again. "We can work something out," he wrote. "Maybe we can lease your SUV from you." Lease. As if a new word changed the old problem. I didn't reply. Tessa sent a long message that started with, "You humiliated me," and ended with, "Fine, keep your stupid car." In the middle, she wrote, "You think saying no makes you strong, but it just makes you lonely." I stared at that sentence for a long time because it was the one that used to work on me. I answered with one line, "Saying no makes room." Dad drove the loneliness knife too. "Your mother is not sleeping," he said over the phone, as if insomnia were my invoice. "Is this really the man you want to be?" I said, "Yes," and he hung up. There were other consequences, the kind you can't put in a ledger. Mom made a separate group chat without me and named it Family. Ron sent me a screenshot because apparently he still had a sense of drama. In the chat, they wrote things like, "We can't rely on Simon anymore," and "We need a plan B." The part that hurt and healed at the same time was Ron's reply. "Plan B is everyone paying for their own stuff like adults." Leah made good on the decals. When I pulled into the office, the SUV had my company name clean on the doors. It looked like a decision. We reworked processes. No more courtesy shuttles for relatives. No more just this once card holds. I brought my spreadsheet to my accountant. "Do I need to do anything formal?" I asked. She looked at the columns, then at me. "Just stop adding lines," she said. On Friday, my cousin Mia called. She whispered like we were in a spy movie. "I'm sorry for my mom," she said. "She's been parroting your parents for years. It's like a script." She paused. I think you gave me permission to stop doing that." Later, she left the family chat. She texted me a screenshot. "Oops," she wrote. Tessa didn't crash again. She did something else. She started to cope in the group chat by telling a news story. Simon is selfish. Simon forgot what family means. Simon thinks money makes him better. I learned you can't out-debate a story someone needs to survive. You just stop being a character in it. But sometimes the story cracks anyway. 2 weeks after the Sunday lunch, Tessa called me from a parking lot. I could hear both kids fussing. "The stroller really doesn't fit in our car," she said, a kind of tired in her voice I recognized from my worst travel days. "I'm not asking for your SUV," she added quickly. Do you know any deals on used minivans? Like from your client hotels? Or anything?" I breathed. "I know a rental company rotating out vehicles," I said. "They're reliable. I can send you contacts." She said, very quiet, "Thank you." "Pay them directly," I said. "No middleman." "Know me?" "Yeah," she said. "I got it." We hung up while the kids were still fussing. It didn't feel like peace. It felt like a room with a window barely cracked open. Air, not yet a breeze. The last ripple came from Uncle Ron. He asked me to meet him at a diner at the edge of town, the one with pie that tastes like a box mix and a waitress who remembers your order if you tip well. Ron slid into the booth and didn't waste time. "You were right," he said. "Your dad has a way of making decisions sound like commandments." He pushed a mug toward me. "You never asked me for anything, so I'm going to give you something, a heads up." He told me Mom was planning a family intervention where the theme would be reconnecting. He told me the plan involved a speech, photos of the kids, and a new ask dressed as nostalgia. "Don't go," he said. "Or if you go, bring the folder." I laughed. For the first time, it didn't sound like a defense. It sounded like breath. I didn't go to the reconnecting party. I sent flowers that said, "Have a lovely afternoon, Simon." I picked the plainest bouquet I could find. The card looked like a receipt. That was the point. I drove to the coast instead, not for a dramatic sunset. For a parking lot facing a gray sea on a gray day where nobody needed anything from me. I drank coffee too hot from a paper cup and watched a couple argue about a map, then laugh because the argument was small and their day was big. I thought about the word family. I thought about it's decided. How many years I let those two words roll over me like a hotel cart stacked with trays I was expected to carry. I thought about how a folder with paper inside can't change people, but it can change the shape of your spine when you sit at a table. My phone buzzed. A new number. A woman's voice. Hi, this is Ms. Aguilar from the middle school. The council loved your presentation. Can we book with you for April? We heard you show up. I smiled. Yes, I said. I do. On the way back, I passed my parents' street because there's only one road home unless you want to add 20 minutes of symbolic detour. I didn't slow down. I didn't speed up. I looked at the turn and then looked away. The way you pass an exit you're not taking, and your GPS doesn't scold you because the route you're on still gets you where you're going. At home, the gray folder sat on my counter. I almost put it in the trash and then stopped. I slid out the spreadsheet and drew a line across the bottom. I wrote in clear letters, no new entries. Then I tucked the folder into a drawer, not to hide it, but to put it someplace that wasn't my passenger seat. Later that week, a postcard arrived from a client family whose flight I'd rebooked at 2 a.m. when their little one woke up sick in Rome. The front was the kid holding a gelato the size of his head. The back said, "We made it. Thanks for showing up when we panicked. You saved our trip." No one had to call me cruel to make that feel small. It was just big on its own. I wrote a note to myself and taped it to the inside of my door where only I would see. I don't owe my silence to be loved. The next Sunday, I didn't go to lunch. I went for a walk. I made pasta that tasted like college, except this time I added basil because I could. I watched a movie and didn't look at my phone. When it buzzed, it was a photo from Mia, a picture of the kids in a secondhand minivan, both grinning, crumbs already everywhere. "We did it," she wrote. "They did it." I texted back a thumbs up, not because I was indifferent, because sometimes a small, simple answer is what a boundary looks like. Family looks out for family, Dad says. He means you do it for us. I've decided it means something else. It means I take care of the family I'm building, my team, my clients, the friends who show up without sending invoices, the kids in a minivan I didn't buy but helped to find, the man in the mirror who finally learned to say no. It's decided. By me.